Welcome to another episode of Fly Nubian Money. We are here to help you master your mindset, maximize your money. And I'm Lindsay Vertner, your host today, joined with my two beautiful co-queens. And today we are talking about extravagant proms, okay? Proms that cost Black people tens of thousands of dollars by recent stats lately. Now, is this too much? We're going to discuss all of that and more. We're going to talk about the mindset and financial lessons of these prom extravaganzas. But first, let me introduce my co-queens. We have Miss Erica Lewis, and she is the author of Faith in Transition, My Journey to 50, Life, Love, and Lessons, an amazing book. And we have Marlo Layson. She is a journalist and documentary filmmaker, and myself, Lindsay Vertner, mindset coach and speaker. So, ladies, we have to get right into this. To kick off our discussion, let's just go ahead and talk about the crazy things that people are spending on their proms. Now, recently, Tamron Hall had a guest where a mom spent $16,000 on her daughter's prom. And I believe that we have a clip of that. Can we run that clip? It's loading. It's loading. So while that is loading, Miss Marlo, talk to us, because I know you have some older babies. Mine aren't prom age.
Start there.
Here goes the clip.
But I'm going to go to the money because you're posted. Maricela, I love you. You love this kid. The dress was $1,300, right? The shoes were $4,900. The send-off was $3,900. Your hair was $175. They gave you a great price on the hair because hair is good. $750 on photos and videos. $4,000 on a car rental. And you got the hotel so everyone could get ready, and that was $1,600. The total was $16,625.
Listen, Miss Marlo, because I know your babies are older, what are your initial thoughts around this trend of spending thousands of dollars on your child's prom?
Sorry, I was muted. Without judging people's actions too much, I just feel like it's not for me. It's a no for me. My older two children weren't really into prom as much, and they've been out of school a couple years, and prom was, I think, creeping to this extravagance. My younger daughter is into social media. She likes to be lit, but she's reasonable, right? So I'll probably be able to talk her down into something that that is a more reasonable and conscionable to me as an adult. I don't see it. I don't see a reason for it, but to each his own, and people can do what they want to do. To me, it feels like living vicariously through your child. And I don't know these parents enough to say that for sure, but I am a parent, and I know sometimes when you have missed opportunities, it kind of makes you want to do more for your child and kind of do the most for them. So I think that's what a little bit of this reads to me. But then it's also social media, right? Like social media, one thing begets another, right? If we look at the bodies and where we are with the way that bodies looks, right? If we look at spending, I never saw people, except for people that were in the underworld, really flashing money in photographs. Now people get their income tax check and lay it out like they've been out hustling all night. Like it's so a lot of this stuff is driven also by social media and people wanting to look the part, right? They want to look, they want their picture to be as fly as the celebrities, because we're all intermingling together. It used to be separated, right? There used to be magazines and celebrity photos were over there, but now we all on Instagram, and people want to get the taps, and they want to have a better social reaction, if you will, to their child's prom as a celebrity's child, right? So I think that it's kind of a combination of a few things that we're seeing right now, but it's a no for me, dog. I can't I can't see it.
Now, Miss Erica, I know you don't have any kids at the moment. And so, from your perspective, how do you feel about this trend?
It's funny because I remember when I went to the prom in 91. I graduated in 91. And I remember my mother, looking back then, I was like, oh my God, mommy, this is just too much. My mother rolled out a white carpet from the driveway. We lived in an apartment and she rolled out this white carpet down the driveway and had my date meet me at the edge. And I had on a black and white dress. It was like a $250 dress and some basic pumps but she had the car, she had this. And I remember thinking my mother went all out when actuality, she was like, she had never gone to her prom and she wanted me to have a great experience. And I personally didn't really want to go to the prom. I was just happy to be graduating from the high school that I wanted to go to forever because it was a family tradition. I went to art. Oops, knocked down my microphone. I went to Arts High. So I was living the family tradition, but I really was not interested in going to the prom. But I went anyway. And to look and see people spending $16,000 on a prom, it's like that money could have been used for something else. And like we were talking earlier, pre-show, if you can find that kind of money to invest in for the prom, you can find that kind of money to make better decisions with, to invest in something else that's going to produce fruit for the entire family down the line.
Yes, yes, that is a great point. And I know on the Tamron Hall clip, I'm not sure, I didn't watch that whole episode, so I'm not sure if more was said. But on the one hand, we don't know, did she spend money on education or on her child's future, or was she like scraping to pay for this prom? So some of these things were like, okay, well, do we really know their financial background or do we not? According to statistics, a lot of poor people are, putting themselves in more debt trying to show out for these proms with their kids. So we have to think about all of the financial aspects. Are you actually investing and putting money towards college and things like that? I love that RL says that 16,000 is way too excessive, that the rest could have been put towards college. And another comment says, why do we glorify prom is a question. And we're actually going to talk about that a little bit later. But if you are just tuning in, make sure that you text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. And that way you can stay updated. You can receive notifications on when we go live. We are here with our dynamic group of hosts Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, always talking about the topics on Fly Nubian Queen, okay? Getting your money mindset and financials in check, okay? So let's get back into this discussion, all right? So here's the thing. We have promflation. According to statistics, Visa done a survey where the average American family spends around $919 on prom. Now that's between the tickets, the dresses and tuxes, haircuts, shoes, all of those different things. Now, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, I think less than $100 on my dress. I think prom tickets were probably like $30. We went out to eat and that was that. Like, I don't know where these numbers have came from. And I believe social media has been a big part of that. And one of you brought that up, right?
It absolutely is. I think when I went to prom, I rented my dress. I didn't even keep the dress. There was a cute little place because New Orleans is always having a ball of some sort, debutante, Mardi Gras. So there were always really great places where you could rent a dress. Me and all my friends rented our we rented our prom dresses. We bought the sparkly shoes that they had at the prom store for like $30. I think our dates rented cars. We went out to eat and then we went on the lake. Like it wasn't, I don't even remember the actual prom. I remember the things leading up to and after more than I remember being at the actual prom location, right? So I don't see spending that type of money. I'm more of if I have the money, let's sit down, let's talk about your future. right? I don't, unless that's just who your kid is. Maybe your kid just wants to shine, right? Because that's also part of being Black people, is some of us really like to shine and look flashy and look like we have it, whether we have it or not, right? So maybe some people are catering to their kids' personalities, but I think social media and that kind of instant gratification of people telling you, you look so good, oh, you're so smart, or whatever is happening in the comment section with the likes and the double tapping and all the things, are definitely contributing to people's needs to, one, be included, and two, be, kind of get that gratification, that dopamine response you get from people saying, something nice to you. So I think there's many things that are at play in terms of that. But
Yes. And looking at some of
Lamborghini,
these dresses,
horses.
many of them have been custom designed. I think I went to JCPenney and found a dress. I mean, I thought it was cute. It was it wasn't doing all of the things that these current dresses are, but custom designs, all the beads and the jewels, glitter, all of the things. These look like high fashion dresses. Like, look at this one with a helicopter in the back. Now, you can't tell me that was $100 dress. They probably dropped quite a bit on either the making of that dress or purchasing that dress. And if we actually look at the breakdown of costs, let's see, dresses are ranging from $100 to $600. Tuxedo rentals are averaging about $150. And then you throw in the hair, makeup, nails, all of those things, spending $200 to $300 for just the makeup part. And then transportation, renting a limo, $200 to $500. But these people are renting Bentleys and helicopters. That's going to go over this average $200 to $500. And then you throw on the price of tickets and photos and things like that. Erica, what were any of these luxuries maybe that your mom spent for you outside of the white carpet?
Girl, my mother was like, realistically, you're getting a car. I didn't have a I didn't have a limo. We had a town car. And in the 90s, that was a difference. So the limo was limoing and my town car was like right in the middle. We did have a driver whose name escapes me. But my dress was $200 and it was from a store called Fit Right that my grandmother used to shop in. And we had a line of credit. So my mother was able to pay that dress off for a period of time. She did spend quite a bit of money on my shoes because, we are shoe women. So she got me a nice pair of pot de soie, they used to be called. I don't know what they're calling them now, but dyeables, and she had them dyed. And, I wore, my long sleeve gloves. I wish I had some pictures to show because, I was cute. I think I spent $75 on getting my hair done, but I did the color and the perm myself. I just went for the cut. So I think, I was thinking about this earlier, when the big shift for proms started to happen, I remember when Halle Berry won that Oscar for Monsters Ball. Remember her dress? And then when everyone saw that dress at the Oscars, everybody wanted to wear that dress for prom. I so remember that. And I think from that moment on, this is Halle Berry's fault. I'm going to blame Halle. It's Halle's fault. Halle had on that amazing dress made by Elie Saab, I believe her name was. And Halle just looked exquisite. And from that moment on, it's kind of been a trend to kind of take from pop culture, from what I remember, just kind of take from pop culture and apply it to real life. But we have to take into consideration that those dresses that we see on red carpets and at the Oscars and at award shows, those are on loaner. A lot of that stuff goes back because honestly, you can't wear it again, as you can't wear your prom dress again.
I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think a lot of people realize that a lot of the outfits, the glitz and glam that we see celebrities in these photos and these red carpets, they get sent back. They didn't pay for those. They wear them. The designer gets the promotion and then they go back to the designer. They aren't spending thousands of dollars. They get a lot of freebies, even if they do get to keep it. And I think that's a missing key that a lot of people aren't understanding whenever it's time to purchase for themselves or for their children. Like, Okay, you don't get the celebrity perks. You gotta pay it or they're coming for you.
When something is so extravagant, you just can't wear it again. You just can't use it again. And I don't think, and I've seen some prom dresses, and I'm like, oh my God, did what Beyonce's mama dress, y'all? Like, these folks are dressed to kill. And it's like, you can't wear this dress ever again. And while you look amazing in it, like this young lady looks absolutely beautiful, it's just like, if instead of having a $3,000-$4,000 dress, I probably would have wanted to take that money and invest it in a car so that now I can drive to school, or I can drive to work, or whatever her dreams and aspirations are.
Listen, if you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money with myself, Lindsay Vertner, and my beautiful co-hosts, Miss Erica Lewis and Marlo Layson. And we are talking about this crazy new prom trend, or new as in the past decade or so. How long has this been going on? And parents spending thousands of dollars on their child's prom. Now, make sure you text the word Queens, Queens, plural, okay, Queens, to 87948 so that you can get notifications and stay updated on when we're going live. And we are here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern with our dynamic group of hosts. All right, so let's get back into this discussion. I want to talk a little bit about the mindset of where this trend is coming from. We already talked about social media. Of course, everybody wants to keep up with what they're seeing, not realizing that oftentimes social media is a highlight reel. But are these parents living vicariously through their kids or not? What do you think, Marlo?
I think I said it earlier. I definitely think in some cases that is what we are seeing, right? I know people. I know people personally who have gone over the top, and their explanation has been, "I'm giving her everything that I didn't have," which that's your life, your kid, absolutely fine. But I think emphasizing the importance that this is one day of many, right? This is not the highlight of your life. This is a highlight moment within your life. Because I know that, like, kids' minds and the way that kids are, they may not even process that this over the topness is not really reality, right? Not talking about rich, uber rich celebrity kids who just move in a different way, period. But I think that just regular run of the mill working class folks who are trying to go over the top of their kids, just making sure that everybody understands that this is one day of many. And I don't know, are the expectations being set too high? That's what I keep asking myself. Like, are you setting yourself up at this point just for super high expectations that can't be met? And you are you creating um, little monsters of people who just think everything is supposed to be lit and everything is supposed to be so over the top and everything is supposed to be like dressed up? Like, this is above me. I'm so grateful for my kids right now. When we get off, I'm gonna call my adult kids up and be like, "Thank you so much for being just sweet people," because I don't even understand this. Honestly, y'all.
Yes, even the mom in the Tamron Hall clip, she mentioned that, I'm kind of living through my daughter. And so she admitted that right on the show. And I think maybe a lot of parents are doing just that, living vicariously through their kids and trying to give them the life that maybe they didn't have. But I want to touch on one other potential perspective that may be going on, because I know that we feel like especially Black women are not going to get married. So maybe there's some subconscious fear that, all right, we got to do it big for prom because they all got to go to school or they're going to take me to jail if I don't send them to school. But we do it big for prom. We have this big moment. And then if they never end up getting married, we kind of had that moment, because now these proms are costing more than weddings these days, which to me is ridiculous. How do you feel about that, Erica?
I think one thing that I think we are forgetting is that kids are only kids for 18 years. And then everything after that, you're just an adult. But you have a core of 18 years to be a kid. And I think when parents or adults start living vicariously through that little chunk of time, they actually steal away potential moments that could be an attribute to their childhood, which could affect their adulthood. So I think living vicariously is a dangerous thing. Yes, I think all moms have done it with their daughters. Like, oh my God, I remember when my waistline was that small. Oh my God, I remember when my feet were that small before I got pregnant with you. And I mean, I think that's, that's the great mother-daughter thing connection. Because my mother just told me, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago, oh, I can't fit these shoes anymore. I used to be a size 9, but after I had you, my feet spread. So I wore a 10. And, so she gave me these shoes because she ordered the wrong size. So I think, having that connection, but having a true understanding, your kids only have this much time to be a kid. And it's so important to encourage that. Another thing I wanted to chime in is that when we look at our communities in basic everyday urban communities of African American children, and then we look at that of African American kids whose families are living near or around our counterparts, so to speak, or living in wealthy communities, or their kids are going to private school. Those kids don't dress like that. They don't have these extravagant send-offs. These kids that go into suburban area schools or private schools, they all get on the party bus. And they're not even having dates. They all just go together because we've been friends for the last small block of time, and we're going to go hang out together because this is kind of our last hurrah because we're all going separate ways to school. So I really think we need to just kind of refocus and say, is it worth spending all this money when I could just take this money and put it aside, and by the time little Johnny graduates from college or whatever school he's going to go to, I can invest this money and get a return on it and say, here, son, here's your gift for graduating college. And now he has money to set himself up for an apartment to relocate for his new job or the next levels in life.
Yes. I love this comment by M. West that says the Black prom is the Black wedding that never happens. And I think we've just, at least in America, we've become accustomed to images of the Black woman or the Black man doesn't get married. We're single moms and single fathers. And so we have this subconscious fear that it's never going to happen whenever there are healthy Black marriages out there. But the media doesn't want to show those, right? We got to start to change the narrative. And I think that starts with shows like this and us just promoting that, hey, Black wealth does exist, and Black education and Black healthy relationships and Black businesses, all of those things do exist. And they existed way before time, before our entities and everything was stolen from us. We come from royalty. We come from wealth. We come from all things extravagant and abundance, and then we're stolen from our land and we're stripped of our identities. We're stripped of our wealth. Even when we try to build back up here in America, our communities and our businesses and things like that, they would burn them down and strip it away again. So it's this subconscious trauma that we have to get healed, essentially. And it's showing up in all the ways, i.e., extravagant proms.
And I think, you made a great point there, right? Connecting it back to our origin story, which a lot of us are so disconnected from, we don't know. I would love to, because I've seen some Nigerian proms. I thought that they were like Black Americans, but they were actually, some were Nigerian, some were South African, and they were pretty extravagant too. And I'm wondering if there is some type of a connection to Black people. We like to be a little flashy. We like to be fly. We like to, make a show. We like to throw a nice party. Culturally, like typically we like to have a nice time, and do recreational things that sometimes cost a lot of money, right? But I wonder if we look at Nigerian and Caribbean and South African people, if when they do these extravagant type of parties, is it more like a bar mitzvah, right? Is it more like a party send off setting you up where do the children get money? Do the children get some type of endowment? Do they get money for college? Is there some type of gifting from the community, from the family that happens at these extravagant send-offs, right? Is as like you said, a last hurrah, right? This is the last time we're all going to be together before you leave. Let's have this party. Let's support you. Let's prepare you for whatever your next endeavor is, right? I would be curious to know if those parties, right, by our native land counterparts, if those have more of a send-off type of significance, right, as opposed to, and be more like a bar mitzvah where it is a party with a purpose, right? Like, we're gonna throw this big extravagant party, but in the end, it's because you're crossing over into this new part of your life, and we are celebrating you and also setting you up for the future. I'd be curious to know if that's happening overseas, and we just aren't understanding that cultural kind of historical portion of it, and we're just mimicking what we're seeing in terms of the flashy part, in terms of Black America.
Yes, if you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money with my beautiful hosts, Erica Lewis and Marla Layson, and myself, Lindsay Vertner. And today we are talking about spending tens of thousands of dollars on your child's prom, these extravagant prom send-offs that have taken over specifically the Black community and just taking the world by storm. So make sure you text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens with an S, Queens to 87948 so that you can stay updated and get notifications on when we're going live Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern with our dynamic group of hosts. So getting back into this discussion, I know that you just mentioned the bar mitzvah. And I love that you brought that up because people are calling these prom send-offs a coming of age for the Black community. And the difference here is that everybody goes to prom. All the high schools in the U.S. have proms across cultures. And so with bar mitzvahs, that's native to the Jewish community. With quinceañeras, that's native to the Latin community. And like you said, they have this endowment where they are gifting the child with something as they are headed into adulthood. And I think that dynamic of event has been lost specifically for Black Americans. And I think it's just us trying to grasp at something of that type. And it's like, how do we bring the Black delegation together to say, hey, let's have this coming of age that's just for our culture that everybody isn't doing.
There are opportunities for those coming of age for our community. It's called Jack and Jill, and it's an opportunity for you to get involved and teach your daughters, your sons, to actually get those etiquette classes and understanding silverware and proper glassware and table etiquette, and then having those coming of age parties and really getting that next level social piece so that they feel like they're getting something with their peers in coming of age versus, you're going to spend $16,000 on a prom. I'm not sure as to what the dues are or registration is for a Jack and Jill, or if it's based on where you are in the world. However, I would rather spend that $16,000 on investing in my son or daughter going to Jack and Jill versus on a prom. Because what I'm going to get out of my child from that Jack and Jill, what they're going to get out of it and what I'm going to get out of it is going to last a little bit longer than what this prom experience have. Not saying that, not saying that the prom is not a great experience, but you want to have that etiquette. You want to be able to have the table etiquette, the manners, being able to have conversation, understanding what your palate is, and things of that nature. So I just think it's all about making investment and making right choices.
I like that you brought up Jack and Jill because how many of us are aware that even exists? I know I never even heard of it until I left for college. By then, of course, I was aged out of it. But then, we got to think about how many of us are making it to college, because if I wasn't on scholarship, I probably wouldn't have been at college. My older brother was on athletic scholarship, and then I myself was on an academic scholarship, but I can't see my mother being able to afford college had I not gotten a scholarship. And so that's really whenever I first kind of got attuned to, oh wait, there's Black people out here that ain't struggling to pay their bills. I mean, I knew it was out there, but I never really met them and hung out with them. And
Right. Like, I want to know those people. Can I meet them?
And so just thinking about how many people are even aware that something like Jack and Jill exists. And then I don't know the finances, the financial cost of participating in Jack and Jill, but once they become aware of it, are they able to afford it? But it's like you said, if they can afford these $16,000 proms, they can afford Jack and Jill.
I mean, it's a valid question. It's all about perspective and the reality of it. Like, I could sit here and like, I have been seeing on the road. I mean, this is a little bit off from the prom. I've been seeing a lot on the road. I've been seeing a lot of Maseratis where I live. And I'm talking about regular folks driving Maserati, the truck or the car. And I'm thinking to myself, I was going to get a Toyota, but you know what? Maybe I can't afford a Maserati. Let me look at my budget. Maybe I'm shortchanging myself. So I really think that we need to just start looking at what is realistic and then looking at options. If I can get a hold of $16,000, do I really want to spend that on a prom dress that this girl is never going to put on again? And we can't even just say the girls, because I have seen some mamas put their boys honey, they are treating their sons like kings. Some of these sons are out here looking better than their dates. So, I mean, people are really making this a high-powered investment. But then again, like I said before, it's misplaced energy of money. And money, as we know, is energy. And we have to start putting it in the avenue of our children, where we're going to get a return from the child and from the money to start building that legacy.
Marlo, do you have any comments on this? Have you ever heard of Jack and Jill? What are your thoughts on that?
I had heard of Jack and Jill. I never knew. I was never enrolled in Jack and Jill. I was a military child, so I wasn't enrolled in too many things. We were always picking up and leaving. Only thing that was consistent was Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts for us. But I've heard of it, and I think that's a great sidebar, right? Is to, what do you value and what do you invest in, right? And for some people, everybody, so back to social media, right? Everybody has ops and haters and, people praying for their downfall. Like, you just look at it and everybody just is kind of not everybody, but enough people are just kind of in this weird mindset where they want to show up and show out in every arena. And I think we're just living in a moment where you only live once, and show up and show out, all these cliches. We're getting living live examples of these cliches, like people renting pricey Airbnbs so that they could host the pre-party. You rent the helicopter. Are you renting the helicopter? Did you go in the helicopter, or did you just rent it for the pictures, right? Like, it's so many small little questions. I wish I could just sit down and ask somebody that, has sent their child on this sort of a prom experience. Like, whose idea was it, right? Who said helicopter? Like, how did we get to helicopter? Was that part of the dream from the beginning? Have they been sketching this? Like, when I was in high school, I didn't know anybody that was planning for prom, but I knew girls that were planning their weddings, and they were writing stuff down in books and drawing. So were these manifestations that these young people have had since the 5th or 6th grade because they were inspired by movies or whatever? I don't know. I just think, misplaced energy, correct. Fear of missing out, correct. YOLO, every little hashtag. We are in a hashtag world right now. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing is that.
Yeah. So listen, if you're just tuning in, I want us to run that clip again of the Tamron Hall guest where the mom spent $16,000. And while that's getting pulled up, I have a little note about the origins of Jack and Jill. In 1938, in the midst of the Great Depression, 20 African American mothers in Philadelphia came together not to hope or to dream, but to provide the opportunities, experiences, and life lessons that would enable their children and others to live these truths. And that group became Jack and Jill. So again, I was never a part of it, so I don't know everything that it entails, but it sounds like it was trying to give us the foundational pieces to help us start to create that generational wealth. Do we have the Tamron Hall clip available? Here we go.
So I want you to understand you are safe here. This is your money, and you do with what you want to do with your money. That's what I'm going to start there. But I'm going to go to the money because you're posted it. Maricela, I love you. You love this kid. The dress was $1,300, right? The shoes were $4,900. The send-off was $3,900. Your hair was $175. They gave you a great price on the hair because hair is good. $750 on photos and videos. $4,000 on a car rental. And you got the hotel so everyone could get ready, and that was $1,600. The total was $16,625.
Wow. Okay. Take it away, Erica.
It just hit me as I watched the clip again. There's something that we have now that we did not have in the 90s when I was in that situation. Everybody is social media is running rampant, and people are getting paid for their social media content. So I think a lot of people are using the prom extravaganza as an opportunity for a big payday, for hits, likes, and views, and for things to go viral. So I think that's another thing that we need to look at from that avenue, because to spend $16,000, and not to say her daughter wasn't worth it, because the girl slayed. She looked absolutely gorgeous. My question is what is the return on the $16,000? Because at some point, I remember my mother used to say all the time, she said, you're going to need that money one day. Don't just squander it. Don't just give it away. Don't just buy something out of emotion or do something to feel good for the moment. Because when you squander it, that's it. It doesn't come back. Money doesn't grow on trees unless you're planting. So what's in the fertilizer? So if she spent $16,000, bless her heart, I hope she makes that return off of her likes and views and forwards and virals. But also, let's also keep in mind, if you're going to spend $16,000, please make sure you have $32,000 sitting in the bank still. Because what we're not going to do is use $16,000 and then have $1,600 just left in the bank.
Yes, I love that you brought that up, because some of the comments, it's like a one side and the other side. Some are saying, oh no, that's crazy excessive. And others are like, let them spend their money how they want. And I can only speak for myself, but I feel like both of you agree. We aren't saying don't do it big for your child's prom, but we are saying make sure you are also at the same time investing in other areas for your child, because a prom is just that. And there is so much more life to look forward to. And we have to make sure that we are investing our money wisely, because some of these kids, once they graduate, then are they going to go to college? Are they going to take up a trade? Are they going to start a business? But then they don't have any money for that, So looking at the economic impact, over $4 billion annually is spent in the U.S. in the prom industry. $4 billion with a B. And here's where the issue comes in. If you have it, great. Spend it however you want. But there are a lot of lower income families spending all that they have, missing payments on bills in order to have these extravagant proms. And that's where we have an issue, because some surveys say that families earning less than $50,000 a year are spending $700 on average. And that's probably the lower end, if we're being honest, from these videos on social media. And that can be a real financial burden.
An absolute financial burden. And I think it also I think that the biggest job that parents have, or myself as a parent, is preparing my child for the real world, right? And I think that if you are, as a parent, your child sees you. Let's put wealthy people aside that got it, right? Let's put them in their own little boat over here. They cool. The Carters, if Blue wanna fly a helicopter and have the prom on the helicopter, those people are straight. We're not talking about them. We're talking about regular, everyday folks that get up to go get the bread, right? And I think that not having an honest conversation with your kids about what is and is not financially feasible, especially at a point where they are about to enter into adulthood, is setting them up for failure. They see you getting up, going to work, doing the most, everything, you taking on extra shifts, doing overtime, you working yourself, you just not getting no sleep. It's a whole situation for this one moment in their life. What's beyond that? I think that people need to be having real conversations with their kids about the future and what makes sense for the future, not instant gratification, right? Instant gratification is in the now. You're going to have long term regrets with instant gratification most times. You need to be looking at what is next and how can this money serve you, right? We're going to make sure you have a great prom experience, whatever that looks like to you, that is reasonable. I paid for my own prom. I had my little job. I I felt that was the least that I could do, right? And I'm not saying that the kids need to do what I did, but I'm saying that they need to be preparing themselves for the future and thinking about the future, and not just thinking about this moment, to share this memory on social media from year to year to year. You do only get one prom, but you got your whole life ahead of you. Like you got 30, 40, 50, 65, 80 years from the time you go to that prom. Let's think about what those years look like, and instead of this instant gratification. At least for me and mine, that's how we live. And I can't tell nobody else how to live their life, but prioritizing that kind of money for a prom, no.
If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money. Make sure you text the word Queens to 87948 so that you can receive notifications and updates on when we are going live Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time with our dynamic group of hosts. And I want to kick it right back to you, Erica, because I know you mentioned your mom. She rolled out the white carpet, and at the time you were like, oh, okay, she's doing it big for my prom. But in hindsight, you're like, okay, well, she didn't really spend that much. So do you have any suggestions on how parents can give their child a memorable prom experience, but with financial responsibility?
I say meet the child in reasons. We need to start sitting down and having conversations about money. I saw not long ago a father, his son turned 15 or 16. I don't remember. It was a few months ago. And instead of him buying him a car or buying something outlandish, he got him his first piece of real estate. He bought him an apartment building. This young man has income coming in at 16. This child is doing better than I am. And I think if we start doing things like that for me, for being able to take $16,000 and use that as a down payment on an apartment building, regardless of how small or big it is, that is huge, because that is going to set this young man up for wealth. By the time he is graduating high school, he already has income coming in. He already has money coming in. So now that apartment building that his father bought him for his birthday, that apartment building is going to help him pay for college if he decides to go to college. I really think we need to start sitting down, having conversations with our kids and finding out what it is that they want and how to get there in reason. I remember I told my mother, oh, I want a helicopter. When I get married, I want to have Parisian lilies, whatever Parisian lilies are. I don't even think that's a thing, but I said it. And, it was just a joke. But, you can daydream and you can dream, but within reason. Because even if I'm sitting on $50 million, do I really want to have a $40 million wedding? No. So, because I don't want to put us in debt going into the marriage. And we need to start looking at our entire life as a marriage, because we're in relationship with every aspect of our life. So no, I don't want to go to the prom and spend $16,000 and only have $1,600 in my purse. This young lady had on a $4,900 pair of shoes. Was that? I mean, bless her mother, but she is 17, 18 years old. I think I would have much rather have given her $4,900 for something that would have lasted her much longer, like buying her investment property, or getting a car or something that she could use to take her into the next phase of life. But I really think it starts with a sit down and talking about what it is that they want within reason, going towards that, but saying, okay, well, look, these shoes that you want cost $4,900. Let's look online and see what we can find that's a match to it or looks close to it. Okay, I understand you want this dress. Let's go ahead and see if we can get Aunt Mary to make this dress, within reason. And maybe we won't have actual diamonds. Maybe we can just get some rhinestones or some glass to put on here. But I think we just really need to start having conversations instead of letting kids just run off within, daydreams and fantasies of what they're seeing on social media.
Yeah, I know Marlo brought up social media as well, and you just mentioned that key word there, social media. Celebrities and influencing is now a job that people use to make their everyday income. And I don't think a lot of people realize that if you truly want to make income, because one of you mentioned about going viral with their prom videos, you have to set all of that up like a business and have everything in play, all the back end things, so that you can actually make money from your viral posts and being an influencer on social media. But it makes me think about, how do we get back to that? Like, how do we come together, especially encouraging the ones that are influencing our youth or influencing the Black community, period? How do we figure out a way to spread awareness on how to invest, how to start a business, how to save for college? Because I think that's a key piece that we're missing, is that we have some Black Americans that have access to those resources and understand how to use them and are changing the narrative for their families. But then we have a whole nother segment of Black America where they don't know, and you can't do what you don't know. So how do we increase the awareness of how to build that generational wealth for our children? Miss Marlo, do you have any ideas on that?
Well, I think it starts within your circle, right? If you know what you know, then I feel like you should share information. I feel like there isn't anything that I know in terms of, like, you know, my job brings me face to face with legislation every day. I'm constantly reading legislation. There is no reason for me to know that they are changing the criminal code in the state of Louisiana, or that they are changing the way that housing goes in the state, and not share that with the people that need that information, right? I know my friends and family aren't watching the legislative session, so I share that information out. I think that that's the first thing, right? People have to be more willing to share information within your cipher, right? You want to share it out, you want to charge a fee, cool. But I think for the people you love and care for, you should be giving them certain games so that they understand. Now, what they do with that knowledge is their business, right? But I think, one, if you are an expert at something, share information with people. That's the first step, because many people don't know, and people that don't know maybe won't ask, right? Because they don't want to feel judged. And there's so many social ills within us that are trauma linked, right? So I think giving and being openly free with information is like the first step. But also, I think realistic, just being realistic, talking to your children understanding where the money comes from, where the money goes, how the money is spent, how the money is invested, how investments are made. I think that is setting up a framework, right? The same way you teach them to wash the dishes, the same way you teach them to keep the room clean and keep the house clean. And these are the reasons that we keep it clean. Talk to them about money in those same ways, so that it isn't overwhelming to them when they become adults. It's just part of the life process. And I think so much of our issues as Black people, whether you're on the high end scale with wealth or whether you're in the lower end socioeconomic sector, is a lack of information and a lack of willingness to share information. I think is a huge problem that we have. That if we're going to overcome these ills, we got to get rid of that. We have to start becoming, because them folks talk to each other. I'm always a corporate. I'm always in the room. They're always sharing information, and nobody's kid went to prom on a horse. Okay, y'all, and that's their choice, right? Maybe they did something else extravagant that I just didn't see, but they're constantly sharing information, constantly exchanging information, constantly talking about broker this and the financial person that, and oh, you should call my guy, and you should, like, constantly sharing information, and we don't do that to our own detriment as a greater community.
You know what that made me think of? That subconscious trauma that we still have to heal. You know, a lot of times people want to say, oh, get over it, you don't need reparations, blah, blah, blah. But these traumas, especially these generational subconscious that are deep down within our DNA, that is going to take significant amounts of time to be able to heal and process and be on the other half of that. But it makes me think about we can be none or few. Like there could be one of us. And if the one of us that made it, and I can't share anything with you, because if I share with you, then you can take my spot, because only one of us are allowed to be in this position or to hold this title or to have this thing. And I barely made it here. So I can't share my resources with you, because then you're going to take my spot. And now I can't do what I need to do for my family. So I still feel like we have a lot of that lingering in our subconscious DNA that we have to heal. Now, of course, we're doing better as far as sharing resources, but unfortunately, those positive posts, like I just saw where a girl, she had taken 100 people to an auction, and every single one of them walked away and bought some land to build a business or a community. And it's like, well, why isn't this being blasted all over social media? It's because media is still pushing that narrative of the negative stereotypes of Black people. So we have to find ways to, anytime we see those positive things, to push them out as much as we can, so that we can start to change that narrative and understand, like, it's okay to share what I got with you, because then we can put our resources together and go even further, even faster. I saw you over there, Erica. Did you have some comments?
Yeah, no, I just think that we also need to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think we need to know what it is to get out of our community and go visit someplace else, or go travel someplace else, or go experience someplace else. If the only thing that you're doing is sitting in your own backyard, in your same zip code, in your same area code, nothing will change. We will remain stagnant. I remember a young lady that I went to high school with, she told me this some years ago. She said where she lived, and I'm not going to say where she lived, there were 4 generations that lived there. 4 generations. And I remember thinking, 4 generations living in that one spot, and nobody ever thought about moving? Nobody ever thought about, I want something different, because everybody was comfortable. And I think we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in different areas, different arenas, and so we can start creating different opportunities, so we can start having different conversations, so that we can start sending our kids off to travel versus, them just spending $16,000 on a prom, where you could send your kid to go live in Australia for 4 months.
Yeah, that's a good point. We have to really find ways to connect and get out and be in community and share these resources, because that post I mentioned earlier, it had just a few likes. Like, I would say in social media world, the likes were low. It was maybe like 200,000 likes versus that was shown had 500 million.
I mean, to see all of those people that had purchased that piece of land, I said, oh my God, these people are building a full-on community. And it had like maybe 1,000 likes, maybe, when something else had like 2 or 3 million likes. And it's like, we really need to start shifting our focus as to what's likable and
Well,
what's likable.
I would say also, it is relative to what people, it's not sexy. Property is not sexy, right? Those dresses are sexy, those cars are sexy, the money that you think that they spent on that stuff is sexy, but investing your money is not sexy, and it's math, and it's boring, and it's parentheses, and it's minus and plus, and it's just it's granular, right? It's not really anything that people can really get behind in mass. And when you think about pop culture, and to me, social media is a showing of pop culture, right? It's pushing it all kind of into the center in your face. Um, and and so if people aren't typically liking that sort of content, if they're not typically liking, financial or something that's helpful or something that's feel good, then they're not going to see it. And it's not going to have that high level engagement, because although people have moved away from the fight videos, I remember that used to be, fight videos used to have more likes than anything on social media. We've moved away from that, and now we're kind of in a space where extravagance is what people like, and mess is what people like, right? And somebody saying, "Hey, I'm gonna take all these people to go and build generational wealth," it's not sexy. Now, I will tell you, if Lil Boosie had done that, then maybe it would have gotten 200 million likes, right? Because now you got a celebrity doing a good thing, and that really gives the good thing value. And I think that we as a society have to kind of look at what we value and what we give that kind of support to, right? We got to, because I'm in the media, I watch it, I put out really good content and really informative content, and I watch people prefer to read the car chase that takes 26 seconds, right? So I see it in my real life, and I see it just in the way that I use social media. And I just think that people, we have to shift our minds as people, and we have to be okay with things not being sexy. And sometimes boring is good, right? Boring gets you to save your money and buy a really nice house and travel and live the life that you want to live. So I think that we just have to maybe celebrate and play up boring a little bit more than the sexy.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize all of the boring stuff that goes on behind the glitz and glams. So, Miss Erica Lewis, let's get into our final thoughts. So, what advice would you give to parents for this prom season with their children and their financial responsibility? What final thoughts do you have on this whole topic?
I think with parents, I think, a lot of them, I mean, it's the end of May, we're going into June. So I think for a lot of them, the damage is kind of done already. I just think we need to just really start sitting down and think about the same energy that we put into planning a prom, which is more short-lived than a wedding day. I think the same energy and the same detail that we put into planning that prom and the extravagancy of it all, I think we can do that with planning out other things to do with our money, and investing for our kids, for your kids' future. Getting them the opportunity to travel, getting them a passport. I saw a comment earlier where someone said get a passport. In my book, I talked about that. There's only about 56% Americans that have a passport. People do not have their passports. Get your passport and travel. Get that experience in. But again, I think sitting down and having these conversations, and again, redirecting that energy and say, this is what I've wasted energy on planning for, but this is what I'm going to invest my energy and money into plan for the future.
And Miss Marlowe, what are your final thoughts around this topic of extravagant proms?
I think, again, I'll close it the way I started: to each his own, right? If that's what you want to do, if that's what's going to make you happy, live your moment. But I think that like Erica said, talking about investing, talking about traveling, opening your children up to the great big world, so that they aren't afraid when they go out and they have to work with different types of people, and they have to meet different types of people, engage with different people, to secure their goals and dreams in life. I think we have to, look past this temporary satisfaction moment, and really think about what is life going to be beyond the prom, right? It's your whole life is not your prom. And to the commenter that says she rented her daughter's me too. And I was to the belle of the ball. I was very cute in my rented dress, and it went back on Monday, and it didn't cost my mother or myself that much money. So good job, Mom.
And where can everybody find you, Miss Marlo?
You can find me on Instagram. I am Olram Marlowe. That's my first name backwards, Olram, and then Marlowe. And then I'm all around the internet because I am a journalist and I write about politics and Black people's issues and community events.
And Miss Erica, where can everybody find you on these internet streets?
You can find me on faithandtransition.com, or you can find me on Instagram at _Miss.Erica Renee _, or on the lovely TikTok at Miss Erica Renee.
Thank you. Thank you. And my name is Lindsay Vertner. You can find me at liveafirstclasslife.com. And my final thoughts on this is I'm going to kick it back to therapy. Like, we really have to make sure that we are doing the healing, the things on the surface level and at the subconscious level, so that we don't allow things like this to take us away from our financial resources and truly really get back to community. Remember, they used to say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to do just about anything with success. And if we would just come together as a community, we can start to pool our resources and share our resources and make sure that if you're spending $16,000 on your child's prom, you are also spending twice, quadruple more on their future and their financial future, and really truly building that generational wealth. So we got to get back to community, guys. With that said, make sure you are tuning in every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern for a new episode of Fly Nubian Queen with our mix of dynamic hosts we have here. And text Queens, QUEENS, to 87948 so that you can receive notifications on when we go live. Okay, so this has been another episode of Fly Nubian Money. Make sure you are tuning in, as we are here to help you master your mindset and maximize your money. And we can't wait to see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.